So it finally happened. Some people thought that it wouldn't happen, some people thought that it was definitely gonna happen, and would you look at that, it was just a matter of time. I'm of course speaking about the lawsuit that has now been filed by Nintendo against Pocketpair, the studio that developed Palworld. And you guys probably already know about Palworld. It was a pretty big success earlier on in this year, and it had a couple of similarities to one specific franchise, that of course being Pokémon. And back when it released, there was a lot of drama, a lot of discussion surrounding Palworld, and a lot of people were surprised that Nintendo didn't just immediately take Palworld down or just sue Pocketpair immediately. But it happened nonetheless. Of course, basically every outlet is reporting on this right now. Dexerto posted this on Twitter. Nintendo and Pokémon Company have filed a lawsuit against Pocketpair Inc., the creators of Palworld in Tokyo, Japan. The lawsuit claims Palworld infringed on multiple Pokémon patents and seeks damages. And actually, Nintendo posted this on their official website regarding this lawsuit. So let's read it for a moment. Filing lawsuit for infringement of patent rights against Pocketpair Inc. Nintendo Corporated, Furukawa, Nintendo hereafter, together with the Pokemon Company, filed a patent infringement lawsuit in the Tokyo District Court against Pocketpair Incorporated. And Pocketpair are also located in Japan, so it's not necessarily going to be very complicated to sue them considering they're in the same country. And this was filed yesterday, September 18th. This lawsuit seeks an injunction against infringement and compensation for damages on the grounds that Palworld, a game developed and released by the defendant, infringes multiple patent rights. Nintendo will continue to take the necessary actions against any infringement of its intellectual property rights, including the Nintendo brand itself, to protect the intellectual properties it has worked hard to establish over the years. Now, not too long after this lawsuit came out, Pocketpair actually responded to this publication of the lawsuit. Let me just read that for you too. Regarding the lawsuit, yesterday a lawsuit was filed against our company for patent infringement. We have received notice of this lawsuit and will begin the appropriate legal proceedings and investigations into the claims of patent infringement. At this moment, we are unaware of the specific patents we are accused of infringing upon, and we have not yet been notified of such details. Pocketpair is a small indie game company based in Tokyo. Our goal as a company has always been to create fun games. We'll continue to pursue this goal because we know that our games bring joy to millions of gamers around the world. Palworld was a surprise success this year, both for gamers and for us. It was a pretty big success, yeah. We were blown away by the amazing response to the game and have been working hard to make it even better for our fans. We will continue improving Palworld and strive to create a game that our fans can be proud of. It is truly unfortunate that we will be forced to allocate significant time to matters unrelated to game development due to this lawsuit. However, we will do our utmost for our fans and to ensure that indie game developers are not hindered or discouraged from pursuing their creative ideas. We apologize to our fans and supporters for any worry or discomfort this news has caused. As always, thank you for your continued support of Palworld and Pocketpair. Now, here's the thing, right? I'm pretty surprised that Palworld or Pocketpair are proceeding to, it seems like they're gonna battle this, because usually whenever somebody gets threatened with a lawsuit from Nintendo, and there's been a lot of those cases, they usually just give up. Because fighting against Nintendo on this could be painful, and I don't know, will they lose or not? It's a difficult question to really answer. I'm not that well versed into law, especially not Japanese law, but it doesn't really surprise me that they've finally gone ahead and sued Pocketpair, because it's really hard to say if they actually copied designs entirely or if they were just inspired. I guess that's just a question of like, what's your point of view about this? But for example, if we use this comparison article by IGN where they essentially compare PALs with Pokemon, and it's pretty obvious that if they weren't just straight up copying Pokemon, they were at least very heavily inspired. So here we have the Pokemon Piplup, which is this one, who is very, very similar to Pangolin. But then again, you could say that these two are essentially just inspired by penguins at the end of the day, and that Pocketpair essentially just used real-life animals as a basis for their pals. But here we have another example that is just, okay, that's really similar. Like it's with the eyes and the, you know, the grinny tooth smile. We have Grintail, this purple cat that is very similar to Galarian Mouth, as IGN says here, save for the pupils, of course. We have Melpaka here, which is an alpaca with a crown that's very similar to Employons. Not sure if that's how you say it, but that is essentially an evolved form, again, of a penguin Pokemon that has a crown. Again, we have a Mayan-inspired PAL or Pokemon comparison here, which is Toko Toko. That is very similar to Xatu, the Pokemon. And you know, on and on it goes. There's just way too many similarities with a lot of Pokemon to just say that, oh no, it's just, you know, it's just coincidence, because a lot of these are just simply way too similar to just be a coincidence, really. I think the biggest example of a PAL that's pretty much just copied from Pokemon has to be Grisbolt, which appears on a lot of the marketing for Palworld, which is extremely similar to Electabuzz. Now, you can look at all these comparisons as you'd like. The question is, like, is this actually something that you could consider illegal, or could you defend Palworld on the grounds that it's just inspired and that they didn't copy anything? We have a user called Jake here who says, note that this is for patents. It's not about the character designs. They are going to try and find some other way to get back at Pocketpair because they're salty that Palworld sold well. So according to Jake here, supposedly Nintendo is just salty and jealous that Palworld was as successful as it was. And if we use Statista just to check out what the sales have been for Palworld, like the most recent numbers from February 2024, is a total of 25 million or so copies, so 10 for Xbox and 15 million for PC/Steam, which is pretty impressive considering it was made by such a small studio as Pocketpair. It's pretty insane that they sold that many copies. And if we just do the rough maths here, considering that Palworld was about $30 upon release, times 25 million copies sold, that's roughly $750 million or euros, give or take. Now, this is just a rough number, so I can't exactly say, but they made almost $1 billion or €1 billion, it would seem from this. So, they've made quite the cash cow on this game. And obviously, since most of us know Nintendo by now, you would imagine they want a piece of that cake, because they always want a piece of that cake. Now, on one hand, personally, I think it's pretty unfortunate that Nintendo went ahead with this, because Palworld has evidently brought a lot of joy to people. But then again, I can't entirely defend Palworld in case they have essentially just copied a bunch of designs from Pokemon, or just the concept in of itself, because let's not forget, as the user Jake mentioned on Twitter, it's not so much about the designs possibly, it's most likely just about the patent for Pokemon, which is the fact that they use Pokemon balls, sort of. They use like these sort of balls that you capture these pals inside, and it just shares so many gameplay elements to Pokemon and just the world building in general. And the only real difference between Palworld and Pokemon is, aside from being a pretty cool open world compared to any other Pokemon game, is the fact that you can equip your pals with guns, and you can run around with guns as well. So now, I can't say that I personally play a lot of Palworld. I didn't really play it too much at launch. I just tried it out, but I thought it was a pretty cool game, a pretty interesting concept. But what Palworld did is that it made me hope for the Pokemon Company and Nintendo to try to, I guess, make better Pokemon games, just crank it up a notch, make something that is at least as good as Palworld or better and more interesting and more fun. But, who knows if they will take that as like a good lesson, or this is a good opportunity to show that they can actually make some pretty good Pokemon games today. Now, if we hop on over to Twitter and check out Dexerto's post about this and go down to the comments, we can see that a lot of people simply don't like that Nintendo did this. We have Inhuman saying, Nintendo legal team, don't be losers challenge. And Nathan says, because God forbid they use that time and energy to just make a decent Pokemon game. And I kind of agree, because honestly, and I've played most of the recent Pokemon games, I think I've played basically every Pokemon game because I am a Pokemon fan. And I do think that every Pokemon game has not gotten worse, but they're just not as interesting or fun anymore as the old Pokemon games. And I still go back and play the older Pokemon games like Yellow, Blue, Red, Silver, Gold. Pokemon has just become so uninspired the past few years that I just can't bring myself to care too much about Pokemon in general. Got Kangmin Lee here saying, Nintendo stop suing smaller studios and regular people, challenge impossible. Again, this is something that they tend to do. They have a pretty long history of taking down stuff that they consider to be infringing on their copyright, even if it's the slightest, smallest thing. Now, this feeling seems to be echoed in other comment sections as well. We got Faz here from Wario64's post saying Nintendo should put those resources in Game Freak instead to make better Pokemon games because they haven't made a good game in 10 years. Again, I kind of agree. But yeah, I'm honestly hoping for the best here. I hope they can come to an agreement or an outcome that isn't damaging to Pocketpair, because they do seem like devs that are very passionate about what they do, even if you could argue that they essentially used a lot of designs or essentially just were inspired, let's say, by a lot of Pokemon designs. Nonetheless, if Nintendo wins this, I would imagine that the punishment for infringing on their patents is going to be pretty painful for Pocketpair, and I really hope that is not the outcome here. But let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below as always, and have a great day. Mr. Olton signing out.